taping this on Christmas, and I never thought we'd have this opportunity to watch Jeremy Booth in his natural habitat posting to Instagram. Wow. Merry Christmas, man.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you, too.
You were hitting all the right buttons?
Trying.
All right.
I'm trying to get it.
I think the Astros believe they've hit the right buttons. Christian Walker, the new first baseman, introduced on Monday. I was there for the news conference, something that I caught out of the corner of my eye, which was not clearly visible from the television cameras.
What's that?
Which I believe the news conference was carried live on MLB Network. I think it was. I noticed Dana Brown talking to Christian Walker's agent, and Dana turning to Christian Walker's agent or representative and just say, man, we are so pumped to get this guy. I'm paraphrasing, but it's pretty evident that the Astros believe this guy is going to solve their first base woes for the next 3 seasons. Is he the right fit? I think he is, at least when you look at track record and what he can do defensively. I don't know how they could have found someone better at the price they got Christian Walker for.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good sign. I think it's a good sign. It's a good pickup for the club. I liked Dana's reasoning. I think it's the right length. It's certainly a body and a approach and a stay on the field that'll be different than what Abreu was. I mean, it's pretty similar money what Abreu got, right? Almost up to the nose, almost $1. But it solves some problems. You know, it definitely solves some problems after the trades or trade, and you know, it gives the Astros some clarity as well, because it allows them to no longer wonder if you know, Alex Bregman's going to come back.
Dana Brown said it in not so many words. The question was, does this end the pursuit of Alex Bregman? And the question was answered this way. Well, I look at it as Isaac Paredes is our third baseman, and Christian Walker is our first baseman, and Alex Bregman is a free agent.
So the way I view it right now, it's Paredes is going to play third base, and Walker is going to play first base. And, you know, Bregman's still a free agent.
So did you guys make another offer to him in the last, I guess, where did you guys go negotiating-wise with him? Did you guys up your offer at all?
Yeah, I think the negotiations stalled. You know, I won't get into the specifics, but I feel like the negotiations stalled. I thought we made a really competitive offer, and you know, showing that we wanted him back. You know, but we had to pursue other options. You know, we couldn't just sit there. So, you know, we started to, you know, we locked in Paredes early in that trade, knowing that he could play third or first. And then when the opportunity to add another bat came up, you know, we just jumped on it. I felt like we were losing 2 bats that hit between 2 and 5. And so getting Paredes and Walker back, we added 2 more bats that's going to hit between 2 and 5.
And all of that is accurate. Yeah, you know, think about Alex Bregman. Man, it's a tough one, because you want somebody here in any city. This is any city USA, and then they're not, and it tells you, man, it sure tells you how fast this game moves.
Fickle? Is that the word?
I was going to say fast, because I don't think anybody and nobody caring may be a little bit tough. It might be a little much, but the city's going to be just fine. Everybody's just fine. You know, when Dana says something about making a competitive offer, because he said that probably 5 times, right? And then he says they stalled. Okay. What he means is we upped our offer from, was it 6 and 156? We upped our offer. I'm just not telling you that. Competitive means there were other offers that were out there that were in that ballpark, and we got into the ballpark to keep him. This isn't where we wanted to go. We believed in the player. We believe in the person. We believe in the unity.
Believe in what he stands for.
Absolutely. You know, grew up here. But when somebody says we made a competitive offer, that's what it means. It means it wasn't what they wanted to do. It was more towards what Bregman wanted. And then when they stalled, the Astros make that offer thinking, I'm going to give you, and I'm just going to pull these numbers out of thin air. I'm going to go 7 and 210, which is a big jump. Or I might go 6 and 180, which is up with the money, but stays in the 6 years, right? And then that stalls. That means Boras said no. And if Boras says no, and the Astros say that's our best shot, we're not going above whatever that number was. We're not doing that. Or if Boras doesn't answer, which is probably more likely, let me think about it. Got some stuff I'm working on. Let me think about it. See where that fits with Alex. Dana's going to go, all right, look, I've dealt with this guy a while. I know what I'm dealing with. That means he's shopping that offer somewhere else. He's not just taking it. He's trying to see what else he can get. And I would bet Astros fans, this is important, that Boras was doing exactly that. That's his job, is he was shopping the offer. If Alex Bregman had a better offer than whatever the Astros went up to, 6 and 180, 7 and 210, but I promise you they upped it. If he has a better offer than that, he's already taking it. He's telling them directly that's not going to do it. This is happening long ago. Instead, they're all kind of probably in the same ballpark, and they're being leveraged one over the other. That's probably what that means. And Dana said, I've had enough. Jim Crane said, I've had enough. I don't want to do this anymore. And
we have to move on. We have to move on. We cannot wait while the rest of the division, the rest of the league makes moves. We don't want to be left behind.
And there were comments made, and Scott's done this a couple times now, about multiple clubs. Yankees were one. But he did this here, apparently, about the Astros. He got into something about wanting championship players. I'm paraphrasing. I didn't hear the quote, nor did I see it. I'm just paraphrasing what I took from it. You got to pay for good players. You got to keep paying. Pay it. Well, Scott is of the opinion, as are many, not all, many agents, that you got to paying for the player means pay what he tells you to pay. That's the way he operates, man. That's it. There isn't any going back and forth. There isn't any real negotiation. This is what I want. And if you don't meet that demand, somebody's going to. So screw you. Okay. And Jim Crane has made it a career as an owner of not doing that. That's the one guy in the game that hasn't done it. Now, I'm going to sidebar here for 2 seconds, and I'm going to say there's a lot of things that organization's dealt with and deals with when it comes to how they go about doing business. That's fair for right now, right? On the 30th, it's the 30th? No, what today is that? 26th? 25th. My bad, I'm already next week. On the 25th of December, on Christmas Day, it's fair to say right now that club has issues with a lot of things with the way they do business still. Okay? For now, it's as far as I go. But what I also say is Jim Crane there's no secret that Jim wants to be profitable. Jim's got a business model he wants to run with, and that's what he's going to do, right? So, that if you're Scott Boras, that's like me walking into you and knowing facts of what's going to happen to me, saying that's not good enough. I want more. So they moved on. City of Houston may turn on Bregman a little bit.
I think it's kind of happened already.
Yeah, but that's for right now. We'll see if that continues.
When he comes back in an opposing uniform, I think he will get a nice round of applause.
If he signs for dumb money over what the Astros are reported to have offered,
then it's easier for Astros fans to let him go away.
I promise you, if it's 6 and 180,
or if it's a 1-year soft landing deal,
it's going to get nasty, and the Astros going to be in a better place. And Alex is going to be this year's Boras example. Sadly, the reality is that Alex Bregman doesn't need anybody to do his contract for him because the numbers say what they say, and he's a pretty smart dude. So he doesn't need that. And I'm not running down what Scott Boras is or isn't doing. But for Scott to go after the Astros means I told you to pay this and you didn't pay it. So now I'm going to come after you and tell everybody they can't come play here because you're cheap. Okay, Scott. But that's what it means, right? So the city's going to move on fast. And Alex Bregman had a chance to spend his entire career in a uniform. I was approaching the gym about this actually the other day. And the question was about Bregman versus Walker, and I kind of got into the numbers. He said, we can't go better than Altuve. We can't go above Altuve. Altuve's our guy. Now, as a fan,
yeah,
it's not somebody's exact, but the guy, he wasn't, that's what they're thinking. That's what they're thinking, right? Anyway, bottom line, Christian Walker's here. Paredes is here. They still need some outfield help. They have some young kids in the system now that are closer to the big leagues that are going to have some opportunity to contribute. The pitching looks like it's in a pretty good shape. as far as depth as on paper. We'll see what happens with health and what else they add to it. But the club's starting to shape up like a pretty good. They're gonna have a shot. And I don't know about this winning the division thing.
That's what Dana said following the news conference. He believes that they'll be the favorite to win the division.
I love Dana. I
Yeah,
we'll see.
we'll see.
The Rangers are doing all right. The Rangers. Think about Texas Rangers. I don't want everybody to hear this. Is the Texas Rangers? First of all, they're not afraid to spend.
Nope.
Okay, so they're just not afraid to spend. That's a business choice. Okay. Second thing, it is the best ballpark in baseball. We've been there.
It's one of them. Yeah.
I mean, it's I obviously do a lot there. It's one of the best ballparks in baseball. Third thing is they position themselves at every advantage. They don't play. How do I say this? So it's the way they treat people. I can tell you from firsthand experience with literally everybody in that front office, whether it's Chris Young,
Mm-hmm.
whether it is their scouting department, whether it's their player development department, whether it's their business operations side, which I've dealt with a lot now, whether it is their entertainment side. They are upfront, they are direct, they make you feel wanted and warm, and they're not sitting there walking around like they got a chip of arrogance on their shoulder. And the Astros, in many cases, still do that. That's how they do it. And so
That's why everybody in baseball loves to see them lose.
that's right. So when you're talking about winning the division, there's still a little bit of culture stuff to overcome that goes beyond Joe and goes beyond Dana, but it's still there.
Interesting. You talk about the reaction of Houstonians and Astros fans to the news that Alex Bregman is not coming back. I was just recalling some of the comments I've received on my X page from some of the videos that I've posted from the news conference, and most fans, nearly all the fans, are glad that the Astros drew a line in the sand and said, this is what we're willing to do. And
nobody likes to be bullied, Jason. You know what I'm saying? Nobody likes to be bullied. And when Boras says,
and I think they also look at Alex wants to be paid like a star. And when you look at his numbers, I think some out there would say that really he hasn't been a star since 2019. Solid, above average regular, Gold Glove winner, gamer. I mean, I can keep going on and on and on with the superlatives and the accolades. But is he a true star?
I don't know.
From a fan's perspective. From a fan's perspective. And the type of money that he may or may not be asking for. That's just the other side of this.
I think there's a value that he's got. When I say bullied, I mean when Boras comes out and basically says you're going to do this or else, that's bullying, right?
Not the first time he's done it.
It's not, and again, the fans aren't. They're not going to respond to that real well.
No.
I'll tell the fans this, kind of referring back to that, some people in that front office, on the business side, specifically, they have the same type of approach. Okay, so that's like oil and oil. That's not really going to go anywhere, right? When it comes to we're going to do it this way, and that's just not going to happen. But the fans are right to feel a little bit rejected as long as he was made a fair offer. So they're right.
Another thing that I was interested in, which I asked at the news conference, and I didn't ask it right away because this was Christian Walker's day. When you've been doing this for a while, you know when is an appropriate time.
Called reading the room.
Reading the room.
Yeah.
So at the very end of the news conference, I and Chandler Rome from The Athletic later asked Dana the same question outside of the news conference. We can't forget how much support Jose Altuve gave Alex Bregman at the end of the season, how much he wanted Breggy here. My question to Dana Brown was, has he reached out to some of the leaders on this team, i.e. Jose Altuve, and how do they feel about the changes that have been made? And he said that Joe handles that, which is certainly appropriate. But the big takeaway is that guys are excited about some of these additions. Guys are excited that the Astros are making moves to still contend, and he reiterated that a second time, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but it sounds like everybody's on board.
Dana, because change is so inevitable in this game, have you reached out to any of the leaders of this team, like Jose Altuve, and gotten feedback on some of these moves that have been made?
Yeah, so I pretty much leave that up to Joe. You know, Joe's been in touch with those guys consistently. You know, he's done that. We've done that this way in the past, and so I think the guys are really fired up and excited. And every time that we do something here, Joe will pick up the phone and call me and say, "Hey, I've spoke to this person. I spoke to that person." The guys are fired up, and I think you know, when you start adding pieces that could hit in the middle of the lineup and they could really play good defense, I think that's a good reason to get fired up. And I think the guys are really, really fired up. No, I think the team understands that we made them a competitive offer. I really think that the guys understand that. And so I think the guys in that clubhouse understand that, look, this is a business as well. And so we work to be competitive. And, you know, we have to, you know, we owe it to the team to pursue other options when things stall. So, and so we feel like, you know, we're still a really good team with these additions this offseason.
And they understand the situation, the business side of the game. And certainly if you lose Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker and do nothing on the flip side of that, yeah. But if you certainly are making other moves and getting more controllable assets, and it allows you room to add perhaps a little bit more down the line.
Agreed.
It seems like that the guys are okay with that. I mean, listen,
Well,
they know what's up.
Tuve's got the same agent,
Sure.
so he's going to know.
Of course.
He knew before anybody else did. You know, I think all that's correct. I think the players in the clubhouse are going to be more focused on who's here rather than who isn't. They've been through this before. The question was Bregman going to get treated fairly? Sounds like the club feels he was, which is interesting. You know, I think there was some debate when it came to Correa. If people thought he was treated fairly, you know, Altuve's never left. Springer obviously wasn't even an attempt really to keep him here. He was gone anyway. So
And they knew what Kyle Tucker was going to do.
So there's that, right? So you have those things. So as long as Bregman was treated fairly, you know,
And Jordan's still here.
Yeah,
Jordan felt he was being treated
and
fairly.
Pena's still here, and Valdez signed a
Well,
contract
Pena's
extension.
a different story, but
Well, but he's not going anywhere. You know, I don't think. I think he's going to play short for a while. So, you know, Javier signed an extension.
McCullers.
Colors, you know. So you have people that want to be here. I don't know that Alex doesn't want to be here. I think Alex is looking at this purely as a business, which I understand.
Before we move into the rest of our Astros discussion, on Christmas, today would have been Rickey Henderson's 66th birthday. And obviously this game lost not only one of its greatest players, but one of its greatest characters, one of the greatest performers, a man who truly changed the game, the way he played, the power and the speed. Of course, the power came later, but the speed. And you are so lucky, man, that you grew up around Rickey Henderson because of his relationship with your father. And I know it's been extremely difficult for you to deal with this. You've made some really incredible, deep, thoughtful posts on social media about Rickey Henderson, but what a shock. And I hate to just say, how do you deal, or how are you handling this? But can you describe what the last week has been, or the last few days, I should say, have been like, knowing that he's gone, and then I imagine all these memories flood back of you, not just as a kid, but you in independent league baseball and being on the same field as Rickey Henderson. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to get you all emotional, but like, I mean, the fact that you had this time with this man is pretty incredible, and he's one of the greatest of all time, and so many people love him. And just admired the way he played this game.
You know, Ricky had this way of, no matter what the relationship was that you had with him, making you feel like you're important. I mean, it's just for whether it was 2 minutes, whether it was an hour, whether it was repeated in his life, you know, had this way about him. I have an entire lifetime, 40 plus years, littered with memories of snapshots now, even stuff back as far as 4 and 5 years old. And, then later on, I got my first pair of Oakleys when they became all the thing because Rickey was their guy. Rickey gave me a pair. My dad said, "You haven't earned the right to wear those yet," and gave them back. And then, in high school, when I was Mr. All Everything, Rickey's, some of his family, some of his handlers, came to my banquet to make sure they were there to support me. I was blown away. I mean, I found out I was like West Side Player of the Year and All-American and All-CIF and all that stuff in the same banquet. My coach knew before I did. Back then they told the coaches and they told you. And they stood up and gave me rounds of applause. I didn't even know I was there, but he was there to support me. Rickey didn't have boys. He had daughters, and there was I saw them very infrequently, as you may imagine, just on the other side of the world. But Dave Stewart and him were extremely close, and Dave's got a son named Adrian who's my age. I don't know how many other young baseball players and athletes that Rickey was close to like that he saw from birth, basically, or close to it with me, all the way up till when he exited. When I heard it was definitive, it was Stu that told me. And I was walking my dogs, as I'm prone to do. I guess I dropped to my knees, and I guess I yelled so loud, just instinctively out of pain. The neighbors came to check on me. It felt like someone just ripping through my body. And there are others out there who have a painful time with this. There's not so many people you can talk about who can move an entire planet. Everybody has a smile on their face when they say his name. You're not gonna find anybody that says anything bad about him. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, and so much more with Rickey was his timing. It wasn't just how talented he was, which is you'll never see it again. You'll never see in the way this game is played today. You'll never see somebody do what he did for speed and power and stolen bases. I mean, he doesn't need all the extra tricks. He played in a game when the attention to detail was mastered as opposed to just having the tools. And they all had tools, guys. I mean, you're not going to find somebody who's faster than him. I don't care who you are.
But he had him at such a young age. I mean, his eye at the plate at early 20s and in his late teens was incredible.
Yeah, but the thing with all those that skyrocket and to the big leagues, it was fast, was the personality. In the mid 70s in Oakland, late 70s in Oakland, early 80s, and in a very tumultuous time in this country that we forget today because we have our own stuff we're dealing with in 2025, right? But a very tumultuous time in this country in a hotbed of a protest. Here comes this young black ambassador who isn't a bad citizen and isn't somebody that's like going to be a stereotype, but man, he was having fun with who he was. I never heard him talk in third person. Not once. Not a lot of other people did. My time with Rickey on the field was spent very quietly, knowing my place with him. I was never in awe of him because I was taught not to be. I was taught to appreciate it. I was taught to understand what I was looking at, but I was never taught to be in awe because I knew them differently. I knew Rickey differently. I knew Tony Phillips differently. Darryl Strawberry, Eric Davis, who I saw at the winter meetings. The guys that I grew up around, they were my uncles, and Rickey was closer than that.
Mhm.
Anyways, I say this because very often, people say, "Oh, the world's not the same," or we miss. This is one where the world's really different. This is different. This is a different one. This is. I probably cried for. I don't mind. I don't mind sharing this because of how much time we spent. I probably cried for a day straight.
Yeah.
I
Told me
was
that.
a wreck. I could barely talk. Barely talk. I just sat on my couch, didn't know what to do. Talked to my dad. My dad was scuffling. I'm the one that told him. I remember saying to Stu, I said, "This can't be real." He said, "It's real." The world lost a human ambassador. Baseball lost one of its greats. 30 years in a professional uniform. 30 years in a professional uniform. Baseball lost one of its greats, if not the greatest. But the world lost a human ambassador, and I lost family. That's one I won't recover from. That one doesn't necessarily heal. And in true Rickey form, man, he did it with some drama because Rickey Henderson Field is no more. And then Rickey decided to go right along with it. As far as me, depending on when the funeral is, which there's conflicting information. I have the information, so I'll keep it to myself.
Yeah.
I may not be able to go.
You may not be able.
Be able to go. Thought about this because I have our first Instructs program, and we have awards we're giving out, and people are flying in to do it. I asked myself, what would Rickey want me to do? Well, if it was him, what would he be doing?
I know the
He would
answer.
stay right there with the kids.
Yep.
And he'd help them get better. And he'd pour it into that. And he'd say, you don't need to come stand and look at me in a box, man. I'm with you forever. And so that's what I'm going to do. And then soon, my dad's favorite player was Willie Mays, 24.
Yeah.
I remember Rickey switched from 35 to 24. He went to the Yankees. He couldn't wear 35 anymore. No, he came back to the A's and 35 was gone. Something happened where 35 wasn't around anymore. But he had to switch to 24. And next time I go back to the shop, 24 is going to find its way on my canvas.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's I think so many baseball fans can relate to how much joy Rickey brought to them and how he played the game. And I think that's certainly what everybody should remember as we leave this extra bases. Rickey Henderson, the one, the only, dead at the age of 65.